Hi everyone, welcome to the first video in a 5-part series called the 5 Steps of Argument Analysis. In this series, I'm going to explain in 5 really clear steps how you can complete an argument analysis under time pressure and ideally under an hour. So today's episode is all about the background information. Now this is something that is really easy to overlook when you are under pressure, but as I'm going to explain to you today, there are a lot of clues that you will miss if you skip it. So here are the key things that you're looking for when you read that background information. Particularly, I want you to hone in on contextual information. There is nothing that you're given in here for no reason. So every little piece of information is a clue that you should be considering as you read the text. To give you an example, here is the most recent 2025 exam and some of that information that we can see here. Something I think that's really important to consider here is the context of this fireworks display. We've been told that this is really important to this small community, that this has been going on for 50 years and is really valued by people. However, we also know that there's a growing movement of people who are concerned about the impact of this event. So this is going to change the way that you then view the text, really taking into consideration how important it is. In 2024, we had the local gym example, and I think the key to understanding this background information is acknowledging the urgency of this issue. We know that this gym is going to close soon if it can't find a solution to their funding issue. They've even gone as far as to call it an emergency meeting. This is really critical for you to understand as you read the text. In 2023, we had another small town. VCAR loves giving really small niche towns. It gives us a very particular audience. And what was really important in this one, or what stood out to me at least, was the information we were given on the text type and where it was published. We know that this is an open letter to the community. It was published on social media and in the local newspaper. However, we are also told that it has been displayed in shops and businesses. This is a really big clue to you that at least some businesses and locals are already on board with this proposal. In 2022, we had a podcast transcript with images, and what I think was really important for us to understand here is the nature of this proposal. This proposal wasn't to demolish the wetlands and put up some housing. This was to allow a commercial adventure group to offer excursions into unspoilt areas. I think this is really key, taking into consideration that this is a conservation podcast by a local. This idea that this development is trying to capitalize on this unspoilt wetland. Now, a little note here on audience. Certainly, you need to find the general target audience of any text that you're reading for this type of assessment. However, I'd also encourage you to look for the different subgroups within that audience. Consider that they're not one giant homogenous group with all of the same opinions and experiences. To give you an example, in 2024, we obviously have that main group or the main audience as members of the local gym. We're told it's an emergency meeting for all of those members. However, you're going to have different groups of people within this larger audience. For example, you're going to have members who are really passionate about this community and will do absolutely anything to save it. You're also going to have people who are more fiscally conscious and are really concerned about the rising cost of the membership fee. You're also going to have people who are really skeptical about the notion of putting lollies in a gym because they value eating healthily. If you can work out how each of these groups are targeted and positioned within the piece, that's really going to go a long way in helping you score highly in this assessment. In 2023, our audience is the Narrow Valley community. That's your general audience. However, a key element of this audience in this text is the notion that you have a young audience who already support the new festival, and you also have an older audience who are more loyal to the existing festival. This was something that VCAR acknowledged themselves in their examiner's report, which I encourage you to pause and read now. In 2022, we had listeners of this podcast from this local community as our target audience. However, given the nature of this episode, you also have other groups who may have listened in. If you would like some resources to help you with argument analysis, I will pop a link to a pack that you can download in the notes below. This is going to include printouts, booklets, sentence starters, and vocabulary lists as well. That's it for this video. I will see you next time for step number 2. Bye.